I am in the energy sector. So you find that a lot with a lot of like older oil and gas companies where grandpa found the oil, grandpa passed it to Meemaw, and now Meemaw's passing it to Baby Joe. And Baby Joe is like, well, this is how grandpa did it. And I'm like, well, it's 2025. Times have changed. Yeah. And that CPA that your grandpa had for 40 years, she doesn't want to do this anymore. Yeah. And I need to hire a new CPA for you. Yeah. So we need to get with the times. So it does, again, it is a funny dance, right? And it does take time. But as the professional that I am and with the experience that I have, I'm able to maneuver it in a way where we're successful, right? And we set the KPIs to diagnose what success looks like.
Nice. Wesley came here in 2007, right in the middle of the crazy crisis. If your heart is not into it, do not do it. That's what I always tell them.
If you're making around 70K, look to be able to qualify for a home somewhere around 250, 275 in that bracket.
Onions and juices and all that, and put some lemon and onion, and you make him drink it, right?
And Alex, all my listings need a video. All of them.
Hi guys, welcome back to Let's Keep It Real today. Thank you so much for joining us. I am Danielle Bilumbulich, your host, and I'm here with
Abu Jabi with AMP London. How y'all doing today?
Great. So we have an amazing guest for everybody out there who own a business. A big one. A big one. We're in another level today. We're in a higher level, right? So if you have a business making $1 million a year and you need a help with human resource, you need to listen to this podcast because this one is for you. And even if you don't have a big business yet, but you're on the way for it, you still need to listen to it. And if you're on the other side where, because the economy is not like the way it used to be, it's a little tight right now for everybody else. Yeah. You do have an amazing skills, and you know it can serve and help any company to grow because you're awesome. Watch this video today, okay? Well, now I establish where we are, so let me talk to you about Aion Worldwide. So this is a veteran-owned, Houston-based human capital firm. I have to read it just to make sure I'm saying it right with my French accent, right? So firm, agency specialized in talent acquisition, okay, in the energy, medical, and technical sector. And then the owner of this amazing company is Miss Tracy Noel.
Tracy Noel, yay!
Welcome.
Thank you.
And before you start, I also want to say thank you for your service.
Oh, thank you for paying your taxes. That's always what I say. Because if you weren't paying your taxes, I wouldn't get a check and I wouldn't be there.
There you go.
There you go. There you go. Yeah. You're welcome. So, and not only she is the owner, she has been named HBJ 2025 Woman Watch Honoree. Could you imagine that? So talk to us about this.
It's huge. So I'm really excited. HBJ is the Houston Business Journal, and so they are a subset of the American Business Journal. So in every major city, you have a Miami Business Journal, San Antonio Business Journal. And what the business journals do in the specific cities is they highlight organizations and people that are doing amazing things in the business sector. So specifically in Houston, they're the ones that manage Houston's 40 under 40 in the business space. So it's huge to be honored as one of the women to watch. And actually, specifically outside of Women Who Mean Business, I'm actually honored as one of the women to watch. So they've acknowledged that I've been in my industry for less than 10 years, but I've made substantial changes, and I've contributed substantially to Houston's business sector. So it's great. We're excited. The event is in October, so that's when we'll start celebrating. But I'm absolutely honored to be recognized by it.
Everybody's invited?
Everyone is invited. My family, they're coming from Miami because I'm from Miami, so a lot of people are flying in from Miami, Arizona, New York. Everybody's coming to celebrate because it's a really big day. It's actually Houston. That event is actually Houston Business Journal's largest event annually.
Wow!
So it's huge. It's huge. So
congratulations!
Yeah, thank you.
So how do you plan on leverage this honor for you?
So leveraging it is always the interesting thing. With the award and with the recognition, it gives us exposure. And so with the exposure, some of the things that we're now allowed to do is it puts us in front of our ideal clients, and it because we've only been in business for a little less than 2 years, it shows organizations that although we've only been in business for 2 years, that doesn't mean that we're not mighty. That doesn't mean that we cannot make a great impact. So we've been doing a lot of like business development. We've been reaching out directly to some of the larger organizations because we are a boutique firm in comparison to some of the large firms. So we're taking advantage of the opportunity of getting on podcasts, being on more panels, speaking about the things that are kind of passionate to us. And also it gives us the opportunity to talk about our 2026 goal. We have a very large 2026 goal. We want to place 300 people in the year of 2026. And so things like this and the recognition allows us to get in the faces of the organizations who may need to place 50 or 100 people to help us get to that 300 placement goal in 2026.
I just love that. We're still in 2025, barely finished up the month of August. And in September, she's already talking to us about 2026.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is, as we used to call in French, la dame de fer.
So did I mention my family's from Haiti?
Yeah.
So when I was younger, I spoke French. So now I'm trying to learn French again.
Okay.
It is the hardest thing ever. So you'll be my French tutor.
There you go.
Yeah,
There
no
you go.
problem. Anytime. So she's very strong, as you can see. So tell us a little bit more about what inspired you to start Aion Services.
So it's interesting because, the short story is of what inspired me is I understand the pain. I understand the pain on both sides, right? I was an employee once, and I understood what it felt like being in an organization and not feeling fulfilled. But then at one point, I was a business owner, and I remember my prayer at night was, if I can just find a really strong admin or a really strong office manager, it'll allow me and my organization to grow. So Aion is essentially the medication for the pain on both sides, right? We encourage organizations to hire based off of character. And so once people are hiring based off of character, that forces the organization to have a social responsibility. So now the employee is not in a place where they don't feel fulfilled. And then the organization is fulfilling the employee. So in turn, the employee is going to do more than they're tasked to do. In the Marine Corps, we have something that we say, a happy Marine is a good Marine. And it's the same thing in the business world, and it's the same thing in the private sector. A happy employee is a good employee. An employee that feels fulfilled is a good employee. And an employee that works with an organization that fulfills them, that has social responsibilities, that essentially humanizes the work process, that employee is going to do much more. And the bottom line is, because we are client-based, the bottom line is this allows organizations to be more profitable. And that's kind of the thing as well, too.
So is it a thing where y'all are interviewing the person that's trying to get the job? Or y'all interviewing them to make sure that they fit what y'all represent?
So it's both, right? So we interview the client. So we are not going to work with a client that says, listen, I don't care who this person is. I just need them to have an accounting degree. They need to be a CPA and they have 5 years of experience. I don't care. We won't work with that person. We'll work with an organization that can at least identify what their core values are, identify the core values and the skill set needed for that position to thrive. And then we make sure while we're interviewing that person, they share the same core values that the organization shares.
Gotcha.
So it's
Where's
almost
the
like
match?
matchmaking,
Yeah.
right? Like Match.com has a thing where
yeah,
you do like a
yeah,
whole bunch
yeah,
of questions.
yeah.
So it's kind of similar to that because we do core value assessment on both sides.
Gotcha.
So we're not just churning out candidates. That's why I don't like to say we're a recruiting company. We're a permanent placement company because the
There you
people
go.
that we place are staying there for longer than a year. And then they're adding substantial value to the organizations. So, yeah.
So by talking about that, so when you're an employer, I have two questions. First, what employer usually fail in their organization? Because you see some places people just leave.
Turnover rate.
It's a lot. And then what could be done for them to keep people?
To keep people. So, and let me just clarify, is the question about when an organization has high turnover, what that solution is?
Yeah.
So organizations that have high turnover, 99.9% of the time is a leadership problem. So, for example, I have a client that has high turnover for medical providers. These are doctors. Doctors have spent 12, 13, 14 years for their education. So when you place a doctor or when you place someone that has had substantial time in education, they don't leave organizations in 6 months. They stay with organizations for 2 to 3 years. So I have a client specifically that's placing providers, but providers are not staying for more than 6 months. So after the third placement, I had to circle back and explain to them that the issue isn't the placement process. The issue is leadership. There's something going on in the leadership that's making people not want to stay. And so this is why I like to say I'm a human capital firm, because I'm not just providing people. So once I identified that problem with my client, I then circled back and explained to them, hey, this is the actual issue within leadership. Let's adjust these issues in leadership, because it may not be switching out the COO or switching out the manager. It may be policies and procedures that are not specifically laid out, so there's confusion. And so with the confusion, people are unsure of their future in an organization, and so they leave. So there's a lot of reasons as to why, the turnover, there's a lot of reasons as to why people may not stay in organizations long, but the number one reason is leadership. And the way we go about it is we evaluate the entire leadership process, because we can hire someone. I'm going to hire you. The person I hire, you may want to marry, because I'm going to hire and I'm going to place the best person for you. But if that person doesn't stay, then it's not an issue with the candidate, and it's not an issue specifically with the client. It's an issue with the infrastructure, and maybe it's an issue with the system as well. Yeah.
And then what probably would be the first step for somebody to start? Because I'm sure some of you are in this case. What's the first step to fix this?
To fix high turnover?
Yeah.
To do an internal evaluation. A lot of times some people like to work with fractional COOs, because fractional COOs will look into the operations part of it, right? And the operations part of it will determine, if you think of like bottlenecks and if you think of like Lean Six Sigma, the operations department can let you know these are the issues, or this is when the issue is occurring often. Because in real businesses are systems that are scalable. Okay. So once you have a system, wherever the glitch is in the system, you can find it, because it's going to be the consistent glitch. So operationally, when we're trying to figure out where that glitch is, you just have to put someone through the system, and then I can let you know step 4 is an issue, step 7 is an issue, step 9 is an issue, and this is how we fix it. But the first thing an organization should do is they should do some self-evaluation and look at their operations.
And I wonder, are employers, are they open to that, or do they take things personal sometimes? Like, you're kind of going too far.
I'm sure if you
or what's the feedback that you get on that?
I'm sure anybody that wants to grow and they realize, because every single time hiring an agency to help you have someone working costs money. So if it's hurting your pocket, which is where your heart is, I'm sure you're going to want to know what's going on.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. They will hire me and tell me what to do.
Exactly.
And then I will say, effective immediately, you will receive a refund. Effective immediately, as per the contract. So a lot of times you will find people that will say, this is what I want to happen. And so that's when I like to come in, and I like to, use my military background, use the fact that I am a woman and my feminine energy allows me to create a soft and a safe space for people. And then I can explain to them, like, hey, this is actually the problem. And for us to get to the end result that you're looking for, these are the things that we have to do. You find that a lot, I am in the energy sector, so you find that a lot with a lot of like older oil and gas companies where grandpa found the oil, grandpa passed it to Meemaw, and now Meemaw's passing it to Baby Joe. And Baby Joe is like, well, this is how grandpa did it. And I'm like, well, it's 2025. Times have changed. Yeah. And that CPA that your grandpa had for 40 years, she doesn't want to do this anymore. Yeah. And I need to hire a new CPA for you. Yeah. So we need to get with the times. So it does, again, it is a funny dance, right? And it does take time. But as the professional that I am, and with the experience that I have, I'm able to maneuver it in a way where we're successful, right? And we set the KPIs to diagnose what success looks like.
Nice. What's the biggest myths you heard about recruiting in the energy, technical, medical sector, and what the data actually show?
So I love this question, and I'm going to answer it specifically to the tech space.
Okay.
So I'm not really big on social media. It's not really my thing, but in the permanent placement space, you have a bunch of people, especially in tech. They're like, just get the Azure certification, and without experience, you're going to find a job. That is a bold face. Which cameras do I look into?
That one.
That is a lie, right? So that's a myth that you hear a lot. People are like, just get Azure and you don't have to have any experience and you'll get a job, right? And that's just technically, that's just based on the data, based on tech companies. That's just not the truth.
Question, what's Azure for those that don't know?
So Azure is a certification that you can get. So there's different types of Azure, but Azure is a certification for cloud-based data something.
Okay.
Right? I'm not a tech person. My degree is in political science. But I know that's what the tech industry, that's what they're looking for now. So anyone with an Azure certification, a lot of, Google looks for it. Houston's a tech hub, so a lot of the tech companies, they want someone with an Azure certification.
Okay.
But you can get the Azure certification and you don't have any skills and you don't have any quantifiable, practical application of that certification, right? Yeah. And so why would I hire you? Because you just have the certificate. And I recently attended a panel that the Houston Greater Partnership did with a lot of the larger tech companies. And what the tech companies were saying is there is a skill gap. Not a skill shortage, but a skills gap. So you have people with certifications, but they don't have the skills behind the certifications. This is where a permanent placement company comes into place, or this is where, on the candidate side, working with a recruiter will help, because the recruiter can translate your soft skills so that they can be applicable in the tech space. So while Azure is a technical skill that's really helpful, you still need project management skills. You still need time management skills. You still need customer service skills. There's so many other soft skills that are needed in the technical space. And so working with a recruiter or working with a permanent placement company, we can translate your resume to take your experiences and quantify those experiences. So yes, you have the Azure certificate, but then on top of that, the things that make it so the certificate is successful. So not just the technical skills, but also the soft skills. Those are highlighted as well too. So that's the biggest myth. I'm going to just go online, and I found a certificate online, and somebody said they made $300,000 in their first year, and that's just not what's going to happen. That's just not how
This is so great for you to talk about, especially for these young kids that go to school. So don't just go to the technicality, add maybe a minor in other, maybe marketing, human resource, something else.
Yeah.
And then sometimes when you talk to tech people, they speak a different language.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they explain you something, and I'm like, could you speak English?
No, I tell them, I say, explain it to me like I'm in kindergarten. And they're like, okay, so this component does this. And I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. So, but it's the same thing, right? So the recruiter, a lot of the recruiters at technical companies and in the energy space, they may not know what a petroleum engineer does, right?
I have no idea.
But they know that the direct manager has said, I need 10 years of this experience. And that's another thing I like to tell candidates, or I like to tell people that are in the job market. You need to learn how to quantify your experiences, right? So when you look at resumes, people will lay out their objectives, and then after the objectives, they'll have a paragraph about themselves. We do not care about that. My client has specifically told me, I need 10 years of experience, I need this degree, I need 5 years of this. So that's how you need to lay out your resume. So then when you're submitting it to organizations or to permanent placement firms, I'm seeing exactly what it is, because my client is telling me 10 years of experience, 5 years of this, 6 years of that. So quantifying the job experience is extraordinarily important. But yeah, that's the myth. Don't buy into these social media tech programs. And then if you're looking to transfer into a different sector, you have to figure out a way to take the skills that you already have gained in that previous sector and make them applicable to the current sector that you're going into, because all the talent that you have, it's transferable. All of it is transferable. And so you just have to figure out how to do that.
Okay.
This is good. This is really good. So, sometimes people think recruiting is just posting a job like an Indeed or all this, this website. Could you tell us a little bit more how much... the little bit we hear you, it seems like it's a big job. But
yeah, so posting the job ad is probably like the 4th or 5th step, right? So, I've done some work for you, and with that, like...
I'm a little person.
You're not a little person.
I'm on the way to the big one. For those there on the way to the big ones, keep watching. But she did help me.
Yeah,
We're still working. I'm still a work in progress.
Yeah. So posting the job ad, like I said, it's like the fourth or fifth step. And so some of the work that we're doing with you is, yes, we've created the job ad, but in addition to creating the job ad, you also have to figure out where you're going to be posting these job ads, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of figuring out where you're going to post a job ad, then you decide to post a job ad. But once you post the job ad, my analogy that I like to use for that is it's almost like turning on the water hose, right? And with an organization like myself, you turn on the water hose, but we are the filtration system, right? So that as that water comes in, we filter that water. We create systems, and we help organizations create systems so they can filter that water out so that they can actually get the best candidate. So it's not just posting a job ad. Like, the first thing I like to have my clients do is identify their core values. Then I like to have my clients identify the core values and skill set for that position. And then the third thing is to create that job description. And then the fourth thing is to then post a job ad. But then even before posting the job ad, what does the candidate cycle look like? Once they submit their resume, are they getting an automatic response saying thank you for the resume? And then what are the next steps behind that? How many interview sessions are we going to do? And things like that. And then at what point do we make that final decision? So it's not just posting a job ad and just kind of waiting for the job boards to respond with resumes. It's an entire process that we create to make sure that you're hiring a quality candidate, and that the hiring cycle is not cumbersome for the client.
Or a lot of the employees, are they having to take like tests now?
So it depends. If it's a technical position, sometimes they will give them assignments. So it kind of depends on what the client wants. It depends on the position. Okay. It depends on the platform as well too. Some of the larger organizations have their own applicant tracking system, and within the applicant tracking system, there are tests. So it just kind of depends. With some of the smaller organizations that don't have tests, we encourage them to implement tests in the hiring process. So for example, if attention to detail is something that's really, really important, we will tell a client, for example, once you receive the email, the automatic response email to that is an assignment. And that assignment is to, for example, one of the things we recommended for Danielle is the automatic response is an assignment where that person goes into Canva and they create an ideal candidate profile. And in that ideal candidate profile, they're then listing some of their major skills, some of their major characteristics, some of their core values, and then they're submitting that back to Danielle, and it's a very specific title. So let's say we get 50 resumes, and then out of those 50 resumes, that automatic email is sent. Maybe 20 are going to do that, but that's the weeding out process. Because if you didn't have that, she'd have to go through 50 resumes. And then of the 20 that respond, if they don't respond in the very specific manner that we recommend, then that weeds them out as well too. And that's how you identify if someone can pay attention to detail, right? So it kind of depends.
I'm going to put it in the subject title. You need to reply back your name, dot, the company, dot.
Yeah.
You position, dot.
Yeah.
You miss a dot.
Yeah.
You're not the candidate.
I had one client respond with I had one client say, the subject has to be your name, and then you have to say, my dog's name is whatever. And that's how they knew the person was paying attention to detail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so those are things that we do, and we're able to do that as a boutique firm.
Gotcha.
Some of the larger organizations, you can't do that because once you upload your resume into the applicant, it's done. Whereas, and that's kind of the beauty of us being boutique, because we can do kind of like some of the unorthodox things to make sure we're getting a candidate that shares the core values that you share, and they have the skills that you actually are looking for.
Matchmaking.
Yeah, tell us that time where you had your interview. I was very surprised in a coffee shop. I did like it.
I had an interview in a coffee shop.
You say you interview, you asked them to come in.
The group interview sessions?
Yeah, the group interview. Instead of being in a room
one-on-one,
like at a hospital place, one-on-one.
Yeah.
You just did the group. I really like it. I thought that was super cool because you really see, especially if you have a position where they would have to interact with people, maybe customer, maybe other coworker, work in group and stuff like that. So it's very interested the way you did it. I was like, this is super cool.
Yeah, so I absolutely love it. And so that's one of kind of like the fundamental things. Like that's one of the initial bricks that were laid down in that set the foundation for Aion, right? Like I know exactly what I'm doing, and my strategy is tried and true, and I'm batting for gold. Like I know exactly what I'm doing. So how kind of like the freshman phase of it is, one of my first businesses was a facility maintenance company based in San Antonio, Texas. We were very successful, but one of the issues that we had was a lot of turnover. And you had a lot of turnover according to people because of the quality of candidates that you would get. And that just didn't make sense to me because my parents were immigrants. My mom was a cleaner. And so my mother had a very high moral ground, right? So it wasn't that we weren't finding, it wasn't that the industry pulled people that didn't have a high moral standing. It was the way they were attracting talent. So what I did was I posted job ads and I made sure to emphasize our core values. And then when we emphasized the core values, what I did was I did group interview sessions, right? I didn't want to do one-on-one sessions because when it's one-on-one, you don't get to see how people interact with each other. You don't get to kind of like see the intricacies of each other. You don't really get to interact with people. So we did group interviews and we would have them at coffee shops. We'd have maybe 5 people or 10 people show up. And then at the group interview session, we'd break them up into groups and we'd have index cards and we'd make them pick what they felt their core values were. Mixed in those index cards were our core values. So if they picked 3 core values and of the 3 core values that they picked, 2 of them were ours, that person shares our core values. And that was another way where we kind of sifted out and found the gold in the hiring process. But anytime, for example, we work with manufacturing companies. So if there's a factory and they need to hire like 50 forklift drivers and they're like, well, we want to do one-on-one interviews. I'm like, hey, let's stop right here. Let's do group interviews. Let's have it on a Friday or let's have it on whatever day that's convenient. Let's do group interviews and let's sift it out that way instead of going one by one by one.
That takes a lot of time.
It takes a lot of time. And that's the thing too. Sometimes because we're boutique and we like to work with smaller companies as well too. So sometimes the companies don't want to hire us to do the entire process. So we'll give them the roadmap and then they'll say, well, we want to block out all of Monday and all of Tuesday to do interviews. And that's the worst thing you can do, especially in kind of like a low-skilled industry because people are not going to show up to the interviews. You may have scheduled 10, 4 may show up. And so imagine if you've scheduled 10 and only 4 show up. I would rather schedule 10 all for an hour, and if only 4 show up, then only an hour of my time has been wasted. Whereas if I schedule 10, that's 10 hours that's blocked out for sure, but then what about the 30-minute buffer in between? So it's just, again, cumbersome for the employee, and so we like to streamline things, and we like to make things super, super easy for them. But even in like the food industry, I like to tell people to do group interviews as well, too. People that are trying to grow their restaurants and they're looking for bartenders, do a group interview session, make it for 12 o'clock, make people ready. Let it be known that you need to be ready to do X, Y, and Z, whatever that test is, and then you go from there. It saves you a lot of time. It saves you a lot of money. And then you get to see who that star is. So in that group, let's say yes. Whoever, for a restaurant, if you're doing like a bartending job interview, whoever that star is in that group of 10, that person's going to shine. And then you'll be able to develop and nurture those skills some more as they grow on in the organization.
Interesting.
Yeah. I love group interviews. They're my favorite.
And then for candidate, what do you think they need to do to stand out?
I kind of mentioned it before. So,
question, is it different based on the type of job, or is kind of the same because you say you're more people-based?
So it's all the same.
It's all the same.
The quintessential thing that every candidate needs to do is you need to quantify your experience. That is going to put you 10 light years ahead of the person that has more skills than you, has more experience, and is friendlier than you, right? Because if you're quantifying your experience, you're checking all of my boxes, and then I just have to see if you'll fit into the culture, right? Or I just have to see if I like your personality, or I just have to see what you're looking for in an organization is the same thing that is something that we can offer. The number one thing is to quantify your experiences, because that makes the hiring process or the job hunting process so much easier, because you're going to get more phone calls from hiring departments because they're going to see what you have. And then if you're not a fit number-wise, it's easier to go through the rejection is quicker as opposed to sitting and waiting. So the number one thing is to quantify your experience. And then I'll give another gem that I like, because again, I'm client side, not much candidate side, but it sounds like a lot, but trust me, I've been on the side where I've been looking for jobs. For each job, you need to have a resume. And that resume needs to look just like the job description.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if on the job description, the first thing that they say is 10 years of Azure experience, that first bullet on your resume needs to be 10 years, 7 years, 8 years, 15 years of Azure. And if that second bullet is 5 years of management experience, your second bullet needs to be 4 years of management experience or 6 years of management experience. A lot of times people think, well, they're asking for 5 and I only have 4. If you quantify it, then I can take my numbers and say, on average, this person is 80% of what I want. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, now I understand it.
Now you understand the quantifying part of it, and making it look exactly like that job description, because that job description tells you exactly what that hiring manager is looking for. And what their eyes are actually facing. So, yeah.
I'm about to change my resume for everybody that needs to sell a house. I'm going to change. If you say you're looking for 20 years experience, I'm going to quantify it and change it to make sure I'm the realtor to sell your house.
Yeah. And be honest, right? If they're looking for 10 and you only have 8, tell them you have 8. And because when they're asking for 10 years, they are literally shooting for the moon. And then if they can't find someone with 10 years, but they find someone with 8 years, that person's honest, that person has good people skills. It's good enough, right? They're willing to invest that time into you. So,
Can we put our experience when we're a teenager, maybe?
You can. I like to tell, so I speak at some of the local universities, and I like to talk to some of the students. They're like, well, how do I break into the workforce when I don't have any experience? And I'm like, you can use projects that you're doing to quantify. If you're on any school boards or if you're in any school groups, you can use those things and quantify the time that way as well, too.
As experience.
As experience, yeah.
That makes sense.
This is like, I'm just
soaking it in.
Yeah.
Well, I am a wealth of knowledge, so it's like everything that I'm giving, it's because it's like an overflow, right? So it's like the system and the strategy, it's tried and true, but the passion behind it is because you have a lot of, I'm a millennial. You have a lot of millennials who are unfulfilled in positions.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate because, you want to work, you want to make a comfortable living, but it's kind of challenging because emotionally you don't feel fulfilled. But then you have organizations that are saying nobody wants to work, but you have, for example, millennials that are like, I'll work. I will stay with your organization for 15, 20 years if that's the case, but it has to be fulfilling. So it's like, this is how it works. These are the barriers, and this is how we close the gap and build a bridge to that space.
This comes down to culture. Sometimes you have people that really, I know a lot of people, they're high-paying job, 150, 200,000 plus and more, but they're bored.
Miserable.
And they start looking other things to do left and right, maybe business on the side to get them excited, because doing the same thing for 15, 20 years in a company who really doesn't really pay attention to you that much, especially now that people work from home. It's even worse. People are just bored.
Yeah.
And then, so I guess all that come down to also the culture of the company, right?
Yeah, so social responsibility is something larger organizations really consider when they are looking to grow, and social responsibility is something organizations look into when they're in the human capital space, right? So that social responsibility not only looks like paying substantial living wages, but it also looks like making sure quality of life is considered as well too. Work-life balance is considered as well too. It also looks like vertical growth, considering vertical growth, because very few people want to stay in the same position. People want to move up. People want more responsibilities, and people over time can handle more responsibilities. So when you look at larger organizations and if you're a candidate, make sure that you understand what that organization's social responsibility is, or what they feel is their social responsibility. Because also that social responsibility also looks like an investment in the community, and you as the employee, that you're their direct community. So there will be an investment into you if an organization has social responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah, I see that a lot. Like some people, they really because
super
I
bored.
help people buying and selling, right?
Oh.
They have a great income. They qualify
Wow.
to purchase the property, but then when you start asking them questions about their life and stuff, and they're like, "My job is
Boring, yeah.
That's a
I
lot
know,
of people.
I know some people that work from home and they have 2 or 3 jobs
Yeah.
because they're like, I'm so bored, and
They don't ask
they're
nothing from
They don't
me.
ask anything from me. I may have to get on video once a week, and if it's okay for them, that's fine. But people want to, again, the thing that we like to drive is like humanizing the work experience. People want to like what they do. People want to like who they work with. People want to like who they work for. So those are the things that we like to kind of like drive home when we're working with organizations.
So when you're an employer, what suggestion would you offer, especially for people that are working from home? It's difficult to maintain kind of culture or when you have everybody working everywhere in the world, right? What would you advise the employer to do?
So I would advise the employer to do more one-on-one meetings. Okay. So for managers, maybe do more one-on-one meetings, even if it's bi-weekly with their actual team. If it's a manager that has a team of 200, that may be difficult. But I do recommend that there are maybe bi-weekly meetings or monthly meetings so that you can still have a connection, especially if we're talking about people that are working at home, so that there still is a connection and there's still a feeling of connectivity within the workspace. I would also recommend more group assignments or group tasks. And the group tasks, there needs to be a requirement of interfacing. So a time of interfacing.
So when you're on Zoom, you have to be on camera?
Yeah, you got to be on camera. And if I give you
Put your makeup on.
Yeah, and if I give you a 3-month project, you got to be on camera for at least 3 hours, right? So that way you're interacting, and there's a certain amount of time where, okay, I know this person has interacted, because you have people that work from home and they don't even know what their manager looks like. And so that's kind of unfortunate because, again, as humans, we're supposed to be around each other. We're not supposed to be alone. We're supposed to be around each other. And that kind of is dehumanizing, right? So, I'd recommend that employers interact with their employees on a bi-weekly basis just to kind of touch up, hey, how's it going? Catch up, hey, how's it going? And then always doing like the evaluations. So sometimes you do like a quarterly evaluation, sometimes you do, but always doing the evaluations and making sure that those happen, because people like to see where they are, and people like to see where they could be going, and people like to see where they could be doing better. And that makes people feel hope, right? And that makes people feel like they're a part of a team. Yeah.
What are some red flags that employers see in candidates that they need to watch out for?
So an old one that's still kind of true is job hopping. If someone is not at a job, if someone is at a job for 6 months or less, that's a big red flag. If someone's references, if it's hard to get in contact with their references, that's a big red flag. The biggest red flag is if the references are not direct managers. That's your biggest red flag. If the reference is someone in a different department and that person is like, oh, yes, that person has great energy and great team working, whatever. As an employer, you should not care about that. You should be able to they should be excited to give you their direct manager's number so that direct manager can say, they are a good team player. They have issues with time management. Outside of that, that's the only issue I have with them.
Can I be the devil advocate?
Go for it.
Even if I don't like the devil, right? The question is, sometimes people look for a new place, but they don't want the employer to know.
Which is very fair. So
it's kind of difficult to put the manager information there.
And if you cannot give me a direct manager from a previous employment. Yeah.
Okay. But they can explain you, hey, they don't know that I'm looking.
Correct.
But this is my previous job.
Correct. And that's very common, right?
That's common.
Someone can be at a job for 2 years. and someone can say, they can come up with whatever issue they have as to why they don't want to give you their current direct manager. But you have had a direct manager before, and maybe you've moved into different departments. I need someone that you directly reported to, so that we can ask questions about your work ethic, and we can ask questions about, your team building skills or things like that. A direct manager is someone that we want to talk to. So that's a red flag as well too. Sometimes you'll have someone that worked for a large organization, a huge company, and they'll give you a manager's information, but they won't give you their direct manager. And that manager will be like a friend of theirs. And that manager, when you ask questions, it'll be yes across the board, and this person's great, and this person's that. Nothing bad. Yeah. And then when you get the person in the position, you're like, wait, there are some things that we haven't considered about hiring this person, and there are some curves that we have to get over. That's another thing. That's another red flag. When you're interviewing someone, if all their answers are yes, that's a problem. If they are like, yes, I'm good at team building. Yes, I'm good at this. Yes, I can do that. Yes, I can walk to the moon. You have to be like, wait a minute, this is not working out.
You got me thinking because I oftentimes have friends and family asking me to be a reference to them. And I always like, yeah, this person is great. And I write very nice, and I'm proud of myself, so I should be a little bit, no, they're not perfect.
No. So do what you've been doing. Help whoever you can help, however you can help. We help everyone in our circle. But if it's an actual previous employee of yours, you're going to give an honest feedback. You're going to say, yes, she was good with Canva. Yes, she was good with doing showings. However, she was late a few times, which wasn't an issue, but just so you're aware, right? Yeah. Okay. Those are the things that you're going to say. And that's what a real manager says. Like a real
normalizing the person.
Humanizing the person, right? Okay. The person is not a rock star, right?
But talking about humanizing things, today is 2025 and AI is all upon everybody's faces.
Yeah.
In real estate, in any kind of field. And then how does that play for tomorrow's future? Which type of job? And do you think, I see big companies start trying to replace the tech people with AI, and a lot of people in IT industry have been unfortunately laid off right now. I do have a few friends, unfortunately.
Me too.
They have been laid off. They used to make big time money, and now.
So 2 things with AI. It's either augmented intelligence or artificial intelligence. So depending on where you fall, you don't really have to worry. You just need to be able to pivot, right? Okay. And so the people that are worried, they don't really know how to pivot. And as much as people are like, AI is going to replace people, that's not the case, because augmented intelligence still needs people to go in there and tell them what to do. You still have to code it to tell it what to do when this occurs. And then the artificial intelligence, you still have to compare it to the actual intelligence, right? So you just have to be able to pivot. And that's something that whenever I hear someone say, not in this economy would you quit a job. Yeah, if you want to, the quickest way to grow your income is to stay at an organization for 1 to 2 years and then move vertically. Stay at another organization for 1 to 2 years and then move vertically. So people are like, not in this economy do I want to quit this job. That's because you're not continuously building the new skills. You need to continuously build those new skills so you can pivot, and that increases your market value. Organizations will come and look for you specifically. There are
steal you from other companies. And email you, calling you.
Yeah. Hi, my name's Tracy, and that's what we do, right? So sometimes we have organizations where we don't even post job ads. We literally go straight to their LinkedIn and we say, hey, this is something that we're looking for. If you're open to it in the next 90 days, let us know, and we can help you transition.
I do have things like that in LinkedIn. People, I'm like, why are you calling me about this? I'm in real estate.
Exactly.
What does this has to do with it?
Exactly.
They just send me LinkedIn messages.
And so that's an example of AI. So everyone is afraid of AI, but you see how you say, I'm getting messages, but I'm a realtor. Why are you sending this to me? So that's the downfall of AI, because AI is going to send it to whoever, right? So some of these larger organizations, they're investing a lot of money into AI and they're sending blast emails to candidates. Whereas a boutique firm, I'm only sending emails to 50 or to maybe 100, and we're personally sending it to them because we've already reviewed your LinkedIn. We've already seen your kind of credentials. So we know we want you specifically. So it allows us to still be more hands-on. So for us, it's advantageous, right? The larger organizations, they're all about AI, and we're like, yeah, go for it. And then you'll circle back and hire us. So, and we are not cheap.
Yeah.
We are not cheap.
So coming back to your company, where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years?
So for sure, like I mentioned, in 2026, our goal is 300 placements. So that's a 1-year goal. Just overall, we see ourselves with a more global imprint. Our first placement was the CEO of an international oil and gas company. So we see ourselves maybe going into Guyana because they have a large energy project that's going on right now. So we do see ourselves going into Guyana, doing more work in West Africa. But again, also because I am a veteran and I am a woman, still being in that Houston area, helping veterans transition, helping women, helping some of like the marginalized people actually get gainfully employed. Governor Abbott mentioned that the state of Texas is #1 in the country for job growth. And the Greater Houston Partnership said in 2025, 400,000 jobs were created in Houston. Who are those jobs going to, right? So one of the things I like to do is work with these large organizations who say, hey, in 2026, I need to fill this position with 50 people. And my goal is to fill them with 50 people that look like me, right? I want them to look like me. And then also if they're veterans as well too, we want to work with them as well too. But that's kind of the goal, right?
And how people can get in touch with you?
So you guys can find us on the wonderful World Wide Web. Our website is Aion Worldwide. On all social media platforms, it's Aion Worldwide. On LinkedIn as well too. I'm on LinkedIn, Tracy Noel, and my only social media is Instagram, and that is Tracy Noel as well too. So you guys can find me there. I may or may not respond. You just have to say it's business, and then I'm responding. That's what you have to say. There's money involved, I'm responding.
And final word, what's the best piece of career advice you've received?
So I kind of mentioned it. The best career advice I've ever gotten is don't be afraid to move around. You don't want to be a job hopper, but if you are trying to grow vertically, don't be afraid to be in an organization or be in a position for a year or 2 years and then move. And then after a year or two, move again. And then you can probably triple your revenue or your income in 5 years if you go from one organization to another to a third organization. And I think that's kind of like one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever gotten, and I love to give to people.
Thank you so much for your time.
Awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
It was
I'm
a
so
real
grateful.
pleasure having you. So as you can see, I hope everybody learned. I know I learned a lot.
I did.
I learned a lot, and I will be able to help and advise younger crowd, and of course refer them to her. So if you have a specific skills type of job you would like for her to take a look at and see if she has a client maybe for you, feel free to reach out to her directly. She's here and she's gonna help. And then now that everybody knows how to find a job, be sure to call us to help you find a house.
Yes. First get the job, then you buy the house.
There you go.
So if you feel like everything you learned today in our podcast was something that could work for you, be sure to place a comment, follow us on all our social media. Thank you so much for watching us today, and then we'll see you later. I'm Danielle Bilumbu, your host. Abu and Tracy were there for you. Bye.
Bye.
Take it easy. Y'all take it easy.
Came here in 2007, right in the middle of the crazy crisis. If your heart is not into it, do not do it. That's what I always tell them.
If you're making around 70K, look to be able to qualify for a home somewhere around 250, 275 in that bracket.
As onions and juices and all that, and put some lemon and onion and you make him drink it, right?
And Alex, all my listings need a video. All of them.